you're driving this circuit, off camber, blind entry, full throttle. Dave, not a nice thing to be doing with a wet circuit with all that rubber laid down.
No, and that's the big point that you just made there, is all the fresh rubber laid down now makes it not just tarmac or asphalt, but it's actually just that rubber they're going to be driving on for the first couple of runs. They've driven wet practice in on Friday, but it's not going to help them now because they're in a confident mode in the dry. And the other problem that we're going to see is it will dry rapidly, the track, but it's going to be patchy for a moment in the top 32, meaning we could see some guys spinning out, which, again, if you're going to be the best in Europe, this is the kind of conditions they've been dealing with all year.
Not only that, but for me, could we see big names get knocked out very, very early on in the competition? Could the top 32 bracket, you know, this weather condition, could it completely change the dynamic of how our top 16 sets out?
Well, we're going to get surprises, that's for sure. I mean, when the conditions get like this, we always have guys making mistakes. You could see some underdogs come through here in the top 32. Getting to that top 16 now is a huge challenge.
Yeah, it's not going to be easy by any means, and it's easy for us because we're sitting up here in the tower in the dry. I don't know what must be going through those guys' mind. They've had a tough qualifying session, some very, very good driving, and now to go back from that 2 dry qualifying runs back into the pits, now they've got to completely change the game. Completely different car setups, different tyre pressures, the cars are going to drive different. Not only that, but it's got remarkably cold. I don't know if you can see me having a little shiver on camera, but it's the temperature is noticeably dropped. Dwayne McKeever said to me yesterday that the wind was changing the track at the initiation, and that just the cold air was making the initiation difficult.
I think they're going to have a big challenge here, and I think that especially when you're coming to the final round and there's championship points on the line, these guys are trying to get up in the order. It's going to be very, very difficult for these guys to just maintain that concentration, maintain that flow. They now have to deal with wet and dry conditions. Drifting in the wet is a lot slower, but it's also a lot trickier. Conditions will change the game. And important to notice that all these qualifying runs have gone in. We've got a real mix of drivers in that top 32. It doesn't matter if it's raining or not. To them, they have to get the job done. They have to just, both drivers go into that run at the same condition. I'm worried for some of the big names here because they may fall here.
I think, personally, it's going to come down to the guy that can keep the call in his head, because it's not going to be down to the machinery. We know the machinery can do it. It's what it's built to do, right? I think it's going to be the guy that can sit on the line and say, you know what, I can confidently make this because I've done it before. I know my style. I know the driving. This is how it's going to play out. For me, yeah, it's going to be the guy that's got the call. There's one guy I know that can pull it out in all weather conditions and on all turns of the dice, and that's James Dean. But this is a big question mark now.
Well, I mean, we've talked about the build-up for weeks on end to the final. It's the finale of an amazing season, a new start for European drifting, bringing all the best drivers together. And that in itself can really shake things up, especially with some of those IDC guys going in there. The Drift Masters drivers are not going to know their style. They're not going to know the Drift Masters guys' style. They haven't practiced together this weekend, so that's a brand new opportunity for those guys. The first corner is going to be treacherous, and it's also going to decide a lot of these battles.
It certainly is, and I'm excited to kick top 32 off now. I didn't want to see rain. I wanted it. The guys were driving phenomenal. The qualifying session was breathtaking. I didn't want to see this happen, but I now think that it's going to change the storyline. I think the storyline's definitely going to change, and I mean, have the Irish got a home ground advantage here now in the rain? They've done a lot of events here in this weather, and they know it like the back of their hand.
The difference is, though, you drop a wheel now, you're just sliding off into the grass. That's what's going on. And actually, when you get to the grass, you're accelerating because you've no way of stopping the car. We've seen a lot of guys go on the barrier here in the past and into those walls just from not having any grip on the surface. You talk about the Irish weather. I mean, it's synonymous around the world, the Irish weather. We were promised the worst day of rain ever today. Then it says there will be no rain whatsoever this morning. And, of course, there's some rain. So I think there's somebody in Ireland, just spinning the wheel in the morning and saying, there'll be weather. We're not sure what the weather will be, but there definitely will be weather. I've always said that they should just say rain for every day of the year so we can only get more positive results from the weather in Ireland. But again, we had rain in Hungary, thunderstorms in Hungary, thunderstorms in Riga, and we kept the show on the road and it finished up phenomenally. So I think it's not going to phase too many of these guys, especially with the experience they have. But our top 32 is stacked. And you look at the top 32 yesterday, the top 8 in the Irish Drift Championship was one of the best rounds of competition we've ever seen. Now you stack it out to 32 drivers, we will still have one hell of a show today.
Certainly going to be one hell of a show. And like you say, a lot of these guys that are, they've driven in these weather conditions all year because listen, every single round of Drift Masters, we've had a wet round. So
there you have it. Well, our man on the ground, Eddie Powers, down there. He's down there in the rain. How's it feeling down in pit lane, Eddie?
No, yours not turned on.
It's on, yeah. So I'm down here with Conor Shannon. Conor, a big drop of rain just at the end of qualifying, making things a little bit tricky for the guys that are going to be going out on track. First of all, I want to talk to you because you've been around this track a few times in the wet and in the dry. How different is this going to make it for some of the visiting drivers here that haven't had a whole lot of wet practice here this weekend?
Yeah, this track is probably one of the toughest tracks I've ever driven in the rain, that first corner, and it's not too bad when it's fully wet, but when it's damp and the surface is just really greasy, it's that first corner, you're closing your eyes and you're hoping for the best. And yeah, I think a lot of drivers will struggle it, but there's a lot of strong drivers in the rain here. You've got the likes of Hipkey, they're crazy fast in the rain, so yeah, they're probably laughing now, they're probably saying, oh please come and rain, but hopefully it will dry up, hopefully that cloud passes on, we're not really sure, but hopefully it will.
A lot of people have had issues with understeer as it is going into that first corner, and we've had a lot of rubber laid down over the course of the weekend. Will that add to it? Will it be a little bit treacherous going into that first corner? Do you think we'll see battles decided there?
Oh, 100%. There'll be a lot of mistakes made in that first corner, and that will decide a lot of battles, including myself. I had a lot of understeer there in my second qualifying run. Everybody is. It's not like there's something wrong with the car. It's not like the tyres are not working. It's, there is something wrong there, or there is something happening on the first corner. Everybody's struggling there. The rain is going to be crazy there. There will be a lot of battles decided there for sure.
Well, it was only a quick passing of rain and the sun is back out, but we expect it to be a little bit tricky for the first few runs, and we're about set to get going with the top 32, so it'll be interesting just to see how that plays out.
Go out there and maybe predict why they're having trouble on that first corner.
go on.
I think, and I am no expert, Ian, as you know, but I think what's happening is because this track crosses over, just as they're coming towards the finish line, these are high horsepower cars, shredding tires. I think they're leaving marbles on the outside of that finish corner, which means that the next run is coming through the marbles and having that little bit of understeer. That's something they're going to have to deal with, as Conor said. However, one man that had no issues with the marbles on that corner, no issues in general, is our top qualifier, James Dean. And Ian, we're going to get another chance to have a look at the top qualifying run today.
Yeah, well, let's look at a replay of our first place qualifying run. And this guy seems to be unstoppable. Look at this, a 90-degree initiation from James Dean. Like you mentioned, Dave, no understeer issues whatsoever. Absolutely perfectly deep inside outer zone 3. Gets it nice and deep into outer zone 4. This guy looks like he's on rails, but he is the 2018 Drift Masters European champion. Look at that wall run, tags the back bumper all the way along it, and again, hangs the spoiler over the wall. Perfect run, all the way out to that white line. I mean, Dave, there isn't any other way better to do it than the way James Dean does it.
You know what, I almost would agree with you completely there, and I very rarely do, Ian, and it is a case that I don't think there was much more in that lap or in that track for him to do there. That is a solid run. The judge is saying, you know, maybe a little bit more risk in certain areas, but technically it was as good as it gets from James Dean. I personally think he's going to be the man to beat today on this track. He's won the last 3 or 4 times he's been here, and we are going to talk to the man that just put in that top qualifying run. Eddie's with James Dean.
I've got our top qualifier, James Dean. You pulled it out of the bag on the second run. Tor Arne Cavini looking very strong, but national pride is what's at stake here today as the Irish and the Polish go head to head. How are you feeling about it?
I'm feeling really good. Just really enjoying driving back in Ireland again, and the support from the fans and everyone that's here is just amazing, and I'm just enjoying every moment. The competition here is going to be crazy this evening, and it's going to be tough, but we just want to put on a good show and enjoy every moment.
We've seen some crazy Polish fans across this championship this year. Do you think the Irish can match their noise-wise this round?
Honestly, yesterday during the final when we finished up, my mind was blown with the reaction from the crowd. So I know it's going to be a crazy show, and I think all the European drivers are just going to be mind blown by the way the Irish, you know, support the visitors coming over and their own. So it's an incredible atmosphere in Mondello Park, and I'm honoured to be a part of it.
Well, James, I know you're getting the call to the line out in the first battle. We wish you the very best of luck in top 32, and we'll be watching you with a keen eye. Nations going to war. Ireland versus Poland in the championship for who's going to take home that national pride.
Yeah, well, that's the story that we're going to have unfold for the rest of the day, Ian. Weather, now we have got no rain. No rain right now. That shower has just passed by. And as you can see, a little bit of wind in the air, but that track is going to start drying rapidly. What happens here, when the wind gets on that surface, it just starts taking away all of that water. Wasn't enough of a shower to leave any standing water on the track, which I think we'll have a first couple of battles in the wet, then it's going to be bone dry. Well, patchy for a moment, then bone dry for the rest of the day. That's my prediction, although I predicted there would be no rain whatsoever. So you never know here in Ireland. But at the same time, it's going to make the first couple of battles, especially for the likes of James Dean, are going to be up very early in that battle order, a little bit more tentative and a real who's willing to risk more sort of situation. From my perspective, it's stacked up to be the best weekend we've ever watched of drifting. I'm almost sitting here as a fan, Ian. I'm supposed to be professional. We are fans, but we're supposed to be professional broadcasters today. It's very hard not to become a little bit of a fan when you see the lineup we have for the top 32. I
think it's good that we are fans, because we then you know, project our excitement to our fans and the people that we're broadcasting to, and I'm excited, and everybody at home and everybody here. The buzz in Mondello Park is electric. You know, the grandstands are getting filled back up again now. The sun has come back out miraculously. You can see it shining on us. Unbelievable stat grid. Yeah, I think that the first couple of battles, like you mentioned in the wet, are going to be, I mean, it's going to be a tough gig for some of those guys, because I think they're going to bow out of competition a little bit early due to this weather. But hey, listen, whoever said that drifting was going to be an easy sport? And it's
not going to be easy. I mean, it's the final of the European Championship. It's got to have a little challenge in there for the boys. And, you know, what you're seeing here is two trains colliding. You've got the Irish Drift Championship building so much steam across its year and its season. The Drift Masters European Championship building so much steam over the year. And they're about to smash into each other here in the top 32 with, you know, lose a run, it's the end of your season, not just the end of the weekend. So those guys are going to go hard. Who cares about bumpers and body kits and doors at this point? They can all be replaced pretty easy. I think we're going to see a lot of collisions. We're going to see a lot of big dives on that first corner in on the door. That's what makes drifting so exciting to watch, is that one mistake and you're going home. You're in a normal circuit race, make a little error, unless it's a crash and a big crash, you can get back on it. Here, even just the tiniest waver. So we're going to go back down to the pits, and I think Eddie Power is with the Hotunji brothers, both inside the top 32, trying to take home the win for Germany today.
I'm down with the Red Bull Drift brothers, and a little bit of time away from all the hype here and all the crowds. You guys, you've made it into the top 32, a really heated and very competitive qualifying session. How does it feel? It's been a long weekend so far, practice from Friday, but you guys are in the main show.
Yeah, it's so amazing to be in the main show. I mean, here are so many good drivers. I think it was the toughest qualifying we ever had, and the track is so tough. So we had been lucky, because just when the qualifying was over, it started raining. And if that would have happened during the qualifying, it would have been like a whole mess. But we are super happy. Unfortunately, I had a bit of a hiccup in my second lap that's supposed to be better than the first one, but I'm in the show. That's fine. And this took the rear bumper off. Yeah. This fella did really, really great. Both runs were awesome.
And I haven't had a chance to see the bracket. Are you two guys on opposite sides? Could or will we see the brother battle once again?
For once, we might see it at a better time now. We hopefully see it again, but not as early as the last couple of times. So looking better this time.
And you're on the back of a very good round at your home track in Germany. Are you bringing a confidence to Ireland here this weekend with that?
Oh, for sure, for sure. We're still on the Germany hype a bit, and it worked out for qualifying. I think I qualified 5th, which is pretty good for me. Not the best qualifier. So I'm super happy, super hyped, and Mondello, bring it on.
So that is it. Two Red Bull Drift brothers looking very confident and loving the atmosphere. I'm going to hand it back to the guys in the tower, and they are almost ready to go to top 32.
Yeah, I mean, you can talk about confidence all day. Those boys, they are ready to throw down.
Relaxed.
Mondello, be ready, is what Joe Hotunji just said, and that's exactly what we are. We are going to go quickly, though, over to our judges to talk us through the top 32. Now the qualifying is done. We've got 32 guys. Now we start talking about how you win head-to-head. So each of these guys is going to be taking turns in the lead in the chase, back on the track. But Kevin O'Connell, talk us through what changes when we get to twin battle action.
Thanks, Dave. So for top 32 battles, we're looking for the lead driver to absolutely stick to that qualifying line that we have outlined during the qualification. Without a good lead run, we're now not going to see good battles. And without a good lead run, we can't have a good chase run. So we're going to be extremely critical of the lead driver here. And the main points that we're going to be looking at is definitely getting outer zone 3 and then maintaining the wide lines around outer zone 4 and outer zone 5. Also a nice smooth transition in front of us here, because it's very difficult for the chase driver to chase if the lead driver doesn't have a nice snappy transition in front of us here with not maximum amounts of angle. For the chase driver then, obviously we're looking for them to stick it to the lead driver's door. So especially from outer zone 1 to inner zone 2. It's probably one of the most critical points for this track. If the lead driver can set up onto if the chase driver can set up onto the lead driver's door on this initiation point, they're going to be getting a severe advantage for the rest of the run, especially if they can maintain that proximity for the rest of the run. Again, outer zone 4, maintaining that proximity, probably one of the easier parts of the track to maintain proximity, so we won't be rewarding too much for proximity here. But definitely for the chase driver, we also don't want them to see them getting caught on transition on outer zone 5 in front of us here, and coming back onto the wall in outer zone 6, then back onto their door and over the finish line all the way over to outer zone 7.
Well, that's the judges giving us our explanation, but sometimes a visual representation can make things a lot easier. Ian, talk us through the virtual representation of a twin battle, and this really will give, if you're a new fan to the sport, a great representation of what's about to go down in the top 32.
So, as you can see, appearing on your screens now, or if you're in attendance, the big screens, you can see a twin battle in virtual for us. Now, you can see the lead car go through the chicane, chase car on initiation, tucks up nicely on the inside. Perfect line through clipping point out of zone 3, and look at that nice dive onto the door from the chase car. Now chase car needs to stay nice and close all the way out through out of zone 4, and then again not getting caught like Kevin O'Connell just said. Nice dive back onto the door once again for out of zone 6, and pushing all the way door on door across the finish line out to out of zone 7. Dave, that's how you do it virtually perfectly as well.
Yeah, well, perfect easy in a game, very much so in a game, very, very easy to do. But it is going to be one of the most hotly contested top 32. So if we get 32 battles all the way through this competition like that,
we'll be here till next month.
We will probably have a heart attack, and so will everyone else here. So let's hope they're not all as perfect as that, because the rain now is just starting to, it's going to dry rapidly here, and I'm already looking out on the track, and it's starting to dry rapidly. I think we're going to have dry action very, very soon. Just a short spill, just a short little shower. And from my perspective, I'm looking at this battle grid and I am goosebumps. It is the most incredible bracket of drifting you have ever seen. It's just star after star, head to head.
Well, I mean, I'm glad you brought that up, because, yeah, it just appeared in front of us, and we handed it. We looked at each other and said, wow, I mean, where else do you go and see... I mean, potentially the top 16 battles alone are just electric. We've got it in store for you this weekend. It's going to be something else. And, I mean, Dave, are we almost ready to kick the action off? Because I'm hungry to see some door-on-door battles.
I'm excited. And I'm not even saying it for the sake of marketing or for spiel or for promo. I am genuinely excited to see what happens here. I mean, you've got one of the most expensive drift cars in the world in Dean Carney's Viper going up against Paul McCarthy's home-built car from Tipperary in Ireland. You've got things like James Dean going up against Borkowski, who beat him last year in
the wet.
Yeah, Mitch Larner, Grzegorz Hipke in a battle. I mean, this stuff is just the stuff of dreams if you're a European fan. Forrest Wang, Steve Baggsy Biaggioni. I mean, the list goes on. Karkoshik, Iglite. I mean, I'm looking at this saying there is young guns against experienced pros. There's superstars versus superstar. And we're only going to get 16 guys out of this top 32. There's some big egos going to get hurt here today, and a championship wrapped up, but pride at stake.
Exactly that. Exactly that. The championship wrapped up, pride at stake. Still second and third place in the championship to fight for. It's going to be an exciting weekend. I'm absolutely buzzing to get action underway. The first battle alone will be something incredible. Dave Egan's just popped out to have a chat, and I'm going to be joined in the tower by a man who's been in the weather for most of the day. Eddie Power, you've been down in the pits. You've been down there getting that microphone inside the cars, getting the word in the, getting the atmosphere. Tell me exactly what those guys are going through down there.
Yeah, Ian, look, I'm being worked out there at the moment. You know, it's almost slave labor. But look, trying to get around here is crazy. There's just people everywhere. The atmosphere around the pits is electric. I have never seen crowds like this in Mondello Park before. And, you know, we talk about Japfest being one of the biggest events of the year. But these Irish fans, they have come here in their droves to see these European drivers. And they have not been disappointed. It is crazy. We had a small drop of rain, as you've spoken about. But that looks to be drying up. Will it play a part in the first run run or two, couple of runs, maybe. But after that, look, it's clear skies ahead from there on in. This is shaping up to be an insane event. We saw what happened yesterday, and that was only the teaser.
Exactly. I mean, it's interesting to know as well. Connor Shanahan, local guy, knows his track like the back of his hand. Used to driving in the wet. He's driven in it many a times here at Mondello Park. But he said, don't count the Europeans out of it. He said Hipkey is on fire around here. He's super fast in the wet.
We saw what happened in Hungary in the wet.
Yeah. I mean, are the Europeans, do they look hungry down there? Were they, you know, no one's thrilled about the rain, but did it look like it was a game changer?
No, I don't think so. I think these guys, you know, they're the best in Europe. They're champions of their home nation championships, and they're not coming here to bow down just because there's a small drop of rain on the track. They have, you know, a lot of knowledge and a lot of setup experience on these cars, and they will just, you know, tweak their suspensions and add a little more grip into the way they drive. No problem at all. They are gunning for it. They are here to take down the streak. There's no talk of going home with the tail between their legs.
Well, I mean, listen, like I said earlier on, me and Dave Egan spoke about it, and I said, I think, personally, it's going to come down to the guy that can keep the cool inside their head. More than the car setup, they know the cars work, they know the machinery's perfect, they've got the best tyres that they can even afford or that are available for them. I think it comes down to the guy that in his own head knows he can get round there, door on door, without making one mistake.
Well, I think it's interesting that you bring that up, Ian, because if you look back to even yesterday's competition, a man who dominated the season in Ireland and England, Dwayne McKeever, he just didn't look to be the same driver yesterday. And it wasn't the case that he was outdriven by anybody. He was beaten, I think, mentally by himself with the pressure of being the man with the target on his back. Now he comes into this competition with less pressure and an opportunity just to mix it with guys that he's hoping to compete against next year. I think, as you say, the mental challenge is really what's going to be the winner here and make the difference.
I think it is exactly that. And, you know, you sit on that start line, you're going into the unknown, especially in the top 32 battle where everything's to play for. Everybody wants a spot in top 16. I mean, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a nervous wait for our guys. Who's going to come out victorious, Eddie? Well, we're going to find out as we move on later on to get our top 32 bracket underway and we move in to top 16. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm joined in the tower by none other than Eddie Power, the man that gets down in the pits and down in the action and gets that microphone up in people's business. Eddie, we are just about ready to kick action off here for the final round of the Drift Masters European Championship 2018. And what other way to kick it off than the first battle of the day? It will be James Dean, your first place qualifier, to battle
I'm not sure
Pavel
I believe
Borkowski.
what I see on my screens here because James Dean and Pavel Borkowski have been fighting it out all season long and now they're battling it in top 32. Are you kidding me?
Top 32 action, Eddie, is where it's going to take place for these two guys. And like I mentioned earlier, Pavel Borkowski took James Dean down last season at the Drift Masters European Championship in the wet. Not on his home circuit. What can he do this weekend? He qualified in 32nd place now. Pavel Borkowski, he needs to pull it all out of the bag. Can he take down James Dean, the machine? Eddie, let's find out.
Yeah, he's going to have to be on it here because James Dean has come over this hill countless times in the past and he is a veteran of Irish motorsport. What can Borkowski do as they throw it through the first corner? Separation already in as James Dean fills that outer zone. Looking very confident in the lead position. Can we see an attack here from Borkowski through the final sections? Looks for the door of James Dean. Two identical S14s. Borkowski puts the pressure on the champion. And as they cross the line, wow, bringing the fight at the end.
Eddie, what a way to kick off the final round of the championship. And we said that it was wet. Well, The drifting gods came out and blessed us with a dry circuit, and what a first half of the battle. You absolutely nailed it. Borkowski stuck it to Dean in that half of the battle.
Yeah, look, I think a very sensible approach from him. He picked his moment. He stayed, you know, right in the pocket for quite a substantial part of the circuit, and then just at the end makes that dive onto the door and says, you know what, James Dean, you got a job to do in the chase position because I'm here.
Well, those guys do nothing less than get back to the start line to do one more run. If you're new to this layout, they will swap roles. It now will be the opportunity for Pavel Borkowski to lead in James Dean and for an opportunity to get top 16. And I'm going to put it all out there. I'm going to say Borkowski has got a pocket full of points after that first run.
Yeah, I'd be inclined to agree with you. Not doing a whole lot wrong, but he's got to match that really strong lead run that James Dean put in. They slam it through the gears, over the hill, and a big weight transfer entry for both drivers. Look at this though. James Dean goes hunting for that door straight away. Comes off the line as Borkowski fills that outer zone. Dean right there with him though. Perfect transition. Can Borkowski get to the wall? He certainly can. Dean though, not with that proximity as Borkowski takes it across the line. Could James Dean be going home early?
That was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. But Eddie, again, you nailed it. Separation, a big factor in that for me.
Another thing I noticed as well, Ian, James Dean a little bit shallow on outer zone 3 as well.
Very shallow. Looked like he was trying to shortcut the circuit. Judges look like, you know, they know they've got their mind made up. Could we see the machine, first place qualifier, bow out competition to 31st place qualifier? The score comes in. Who's going to take it through to the top 16? Slide it left for Borkowski, right for James Dean. Kieran says Dean. Kevin says Dean. David says Dean. It's unanimous. James Dean gets the win and goes through to the top 16. Judges, we see it a completely different way, but you know exactly what you're looking for. Kevin O'Connell. Sorry, Kieran Hines.
Yeah, okay, you need to, okay, you saw a strong finish in the first run, okay, by Powell, but you have to look at the first corner. First corner is by far, 1, 2 to 3 is the most difficult part of the track. If you've got proximity for the first half of the track, you're on a big advantage. If you don't have proximity at the first half of the track, you're at a disadvantage. And in the first run, Powell in the chase position has no proximity through 1, 2 to 3. He's off clip 3. He gets proximity at the very end of the run, so he puts claws back a point maybe, but he's still at a disadvantage after the first run. On the second run, James has good proximity, especially through 1, 2 and 3, which again, as I said, is the most difficult part of the track, so he has a big advantage for the first half of the track. He maintains that throughout the run to the finish. So James, over both runs, wins both. He wins the lead run, and in the chase position, James also takes the chase, so over both runs, James takes it.
So there you have it, Ian. The judges reverting back to that criteria that they specified in the briefings this morning. We turn our attentions to an Australian versus a Polish man sitting on the line in Mondello in Ireland. Where in the world would you see it? Right now, Mitch Larner comes into this as one of the brightest stars coming through the ranks in the Irish Series, also competing at home in Australia. But Gregor Shipke in the title hunt going into the penultimate round and narrowly missing out after being taken down by James Dean, but he will not be going home early here if he can take down Mitch Larner. Larner to lead them in as the higher qualifier. Hipke throws it in behind him, and we know how good he is in battles, but Hipke goes off the course, Ian. Drops a couple of wheels. Hard to tell if it was 1 or 2. Larner puts foot to floor as he looks to try and expand his lead. Throws it onto the wall in that Cestino tyre 1 pier. Hipke unable to claw his way back into this one, and right now you've got to say advantage with the Aussie.
Exactly that, Eddie. As you can see, these guys making their way back towards the start line. We look at the replay. You can see an absolutely perfect initiation there for Mitch Larner. For me, Hipke just dropped a wheel on the inside of inner zone 1, and that kind of put him way offline for outer zone 3. They go both get back into it, and Larner just starts to pull away, and by then, Hipke's just a passenger in this train ride as Mitch Larner stands on the accelerator and powers that Cestino tyres V8 1 over the finish line, and he looks a strong contender. This guy done a lot of driving this weekend. You know, he feels comfortable here in Ireland. Look at this, you can see how far off circuit Gregor Hipke went.
I spoke to Mitch Larner yesterday, and you know what he says to me? He says, when I'm at home and I'm practicing, I don't try and practice the perfect line every time. When I'm chasing guys in, I try and put myself out of position and see how I'm going to recover it, so that I know that if I find myself in a battle, it's going to be muscle memory, and I don't even need to think about it. It just happens. That is how much this guy thinks about what he's doing out there. Here we go, second half of this one. Larner with the advantage. Hipke needs something special here. What can he produce when it matters? Big weight transfer entry from Hipke as he throws it sideways. Larner right there with him. Look at the proximity from the Thunder from down under as he throws it to the door of the Polish driver. 2 V8 Titans out on circuit. Hipke dropping the wheels. Panels flying everywhere. Hipke throws it to the wall, but Larner right there with him. Hipke takes it over the line, but Larner on the door. Mondello Park makes some noise.
Textbook chase run there from Mitch Alana as they fire it in. Gregor Hipke not really putting a foot wrong. Nice initiation again. Just gets close to dropping the wheel over, but keeps it in control. Doesn't get deep into zone 3 like we see. Want to know where the contact come from. Very shallow angle from Mitch Alana and almost straightens, and that's where the contact happens. Did he get himself shut? That is exactly what Kevin O'Connell was talking about in the brief description earlier on the track nap. He said, you've got to be careful on that transition. You don't want to get the door shut on you. And for me, I don't know if Mitch Alana did a little bit too much there and shut himself out of the battle. The judges having a little discussion amongst themselves as the drivers get out of their cars and embrace each other. Mitch Alana's car suffering some battle damage there.
Yeah, look, that car has just been put through its paces this year, and he is just one of the most aggressive drivers that you're going to see. Never backs down, and not surprising to see some panels flying in the air through that one. And Hipke, of course, he's earned himself a lot of fans this year with his driving style. You can see both guys just checking the tires just in case this one needs to go one more run. But we take a look at the replay. Judges just wanted to take another look at this one. You see very straight on the initiation there from Mitch through that first section.
Important to note the shallow angle from Mitch Alana here. Watch, little straighten, contact. Did Mitch Alana get himself in the wrong part of the circuit? And it's exactly what Kevin O'Connell was talking about. I feel that...
but he's got that aggression, and the judges like to reward that aggression. When they were switched around, did Hipke have that same proximity? Did he show that same aggression? And, you know, if you're going to reward drivers for being close through those first 3 sections, OK, Mitch was a little bit shallow, but he did bring the fight.
He certainly brought a fight, but I wonder if he was too aggressive. I wonder if he was too aggressive, and that's what he could potentially knock himself out of the battle for. Judges seem to have come to a decision, and they're inputting their scores into the system.
This one, of course, could be pivotal in terms of the Nations Championship as well.
Exactly. Not only that, but the winner of this battle will go through to battle James Dean in the top 16. I know Mitch Alana personally wants to have a rivalry again with Dean. He's been fighting that all weekend and all season. To get a chance at Dean. Decision looks like it's dropped in. Eddie Slidham left for Gregor Hipke, right for Mitch Alana. Poland or Australia? Who's going to take it through to battle James Dean in top 16? Kieran says one more time. Kevin O'Connell says Mitch Alana. David Kalas says one more time. They're going to go one more time. Judges, we need to talk to you. A split decision, not a clear-cut winner by any means.
That, my blown all over. In the first one, Hipke in the chase position, he has an error coming in, heading, from clip 2. He drops the wheel. He dropped the wheel over the curb on clip 2, so it's a wheel off there. Then he puts a wheel off as well on clip 3, and from there on, he does okay, But Mitch has a big advantage. So after the first one, on the second run, all is good. Mitch has a really good attack right up as far as out of zone 4. He has a little bit less angle going on out of zone 4, but he has proximity. And then things kind of go wrong. Look, we watched the replay twice to see did Hipke actually leave out of zone 4 early, because that would have caused the issue that Mitch had with him. It's not very clear on the replay. I mean, I couldn't be 100%. It looks like he might have come away slightly early, but either way, anyway, Mitch gets caught on the transition and makes a big error. So that kind of overturns the advantage he had on the first one. So it kind of evens it up for me. I think Kevin would like to add his a little bit. He went for...
Yeah, for me, I went with Mitch Larner simply because on his first run, Mitch had a fantastic lead run and Hipke had a very extreme error, dropping a wheel at 2 and at 3 and having absolutely no proximity. So for me, Mitch came away with a very strong advantage for that run. Hipke in his lead run, not a perfect line, definitely not as good as Mitch's. And Mitch had an absolutely fantastic chase run up until just coming out of outer zone 4, coming towards outer zone 5. It looked like he got a little bit caught behind Hipke. I think Hipke was a little bit offline there, which definitely wouldn't have made it easy for Mitch. But even then, Mitch was on such a strong advantage from his extremely good chasing that only brought it back to even for me, and therefore Mitch had the advantage, and I would have liked to have seen him go through.
Well, there we go. Judges undecided, so they go one more time. We keep the action moving, though. Welcome back, Dave Egan. The next battle on the line, the action still hot on the press. Dwayne McKeever, Krzysztof Romanowski.
Well, Dwayne McKeever said that he lost yesterday in the top 8. He missed out on an undefeated perfect 5 for 5 in the Irish Drift Championship. He said, today, I don't care where you're from or who you think you are, you're in my backyard now. And he has Krzysztof Romanowski, who hit the podium in Latvia, up against him now. And this is hot and heavy already. Ireland versus Poland.
Krzysztof Romanowski looks like he's been left for dead as Dwayne McKeever fires in. Oh, and Romanowski makes contact with McKeever. McKeever stays in it, and Romanowski finds himself buried in the gravel as Dwayne McKeever puts foot to floor and powers his S13 across the line. Romanowski stays in the gravel.
Well, Romanowski losing a lot of ground on the first corner, Ian. He had to make a do-or-die dive, and unfortunately it was to die because he hit the back end of McKeever's car hard. How McKeever doesn't spin out here is absolutely ridiculous. He gets hit at over 50, 60 miles an hour. Watch this. Gets hit, and he just stays in it and actually goes back onto the line again as Romanowski fires into the gravel. 2 runs, 2 sets of contact, bumpers everywhere. Last game of the season, why not? Go for it, right? So obviously McKeever with a very fast initiation, Romanowski having no opportunity there to do anything else other than try and make up the ground. Look at the speed he comes at McKeever, tags the rear end of the car, hits him. Imagine just being touched if you're driving at motorway speed and then just saying, I'll just dial a little bit more angle in here and stay on the track. McKeever, I have never seen him like the attitude he had this morning. There was no smiles, there was no jokes. He said he is furious with yesterday. He said, if I'm coming to this European Championship in Drift Masters next year, well, they're going to be afraid of me after today. So half the job done there. And Romanowski's door, as you can see, at his car being sort of slammed together to get him back and ready for the second half of this battle. But it's not over until it's over, and anything can happen in the Drift Masters European Championship. Romanowski will have the big disadvantage here, and McKeever will chase him in. Ian, it's just top 32, and we're already getting paint on paint. This is insane.
Well, we said it was going to be a vehicular insanity, and it certainly is as they come off the line for a spot in the top 16 awaits. Romanowski now needs to pull everything out the bag, but Dwayne McKeever's not letting him go. He's door on door as they push nice and deep into outer zone 3. McKeever slows his car down perfectly. Romanowski now, no mistakes, as McKeever right with him. McKeever, good transition back, looks for the door again as Dwayne McKeever and Romanowski both tag the wall. McKeever door on door with Krzysztof Romanowski across the line. Unbelievable finish to both the runs.
Dwayne McKeever finishes the run with Romanowski's bumper on the front of his car. That is what happened right there. Mondello Park, we need you to start getting involved here. Make some noise for Romanowski and Dwayne McKeever. Well, that one might be a pretty obvious result in the end. Let's see which way the judges go. Slide him left for the Polish driver, Romanowski right for the Irish driver, Dwayne McKeever. 1 vote for McKeever. He needs 1 more, and there it has it. He's into the top 16. McKeever going through. Very obvious one there, Ian, of course. Romanowski, you know what, give him a round of applause, guys. The Drift Warriors from Poland coming over this weekend. They have been incredible competitors, but just a little bit too much on that occasion, Ian. And as you can see, our Polish fans still got a lot of guys in the fight today.
They certainly have, and they'll certainly be fighting for that championship cup, but we keep the action flowing. And this one, well, where else in the world do you go where you're going to see Forrest Wang from Formula D take on Monster Energy's very own Steve Bagsy Biagioni for a spot in top 16. V8 PS13, 2JZ S14.5. Dave Egan.
Have we ever watched a battle where someone from Essex goes up against someone from Las Vegas? That's happening right now.
In Ireland.
In Ireland. Oh, and Steve Bagsy Biagioni.
There was smoke coming from under the bonnet of Bagsy's car. Or did he jump the line? Was the smoke just from the burnout? I was just maybe.
Yeah, maybe he was just clearing. I'm not sure exactly what happened there. Starler Marshall resets both cars. Well, here's what you've got. You've got a 2JZ, over 700 horsepower under the bonnet of the Vantasia car. Forrest Wang shipped in from the USA. You've got a Chevy 4 LSX V8 under the bonnet of Bagsy's Monster Energy PS13. This is an ex-British champion going up against one of the highest ranked drivers, not only in the US, but in the world, happening right in front of your eyes here in Mondello Park. We would never see these matchups anywhere else in the world, but right now it's about to happen as Forrest Wang in the lead position as the higher qualifier will be chased in by Bagsy into the first corner. This is one for the history books. Here we go.
Firing it in, Bagsy behind Forrest Wang. Forrest Wang gets a wheel up on the curb but stays in it now. Bagsy looks to make the dive on the door of the Vantasia S15. Bagsy right with Wang. Wang puts a big angle. The guy known for flamboyant style. Bagsy needs to get nice and close to the door. Can he push on the door of Wang as Forrest Wang powers the car across the line? Bagsy in the shadows of the S14.5.
Well, I'm just going to say it right now. Forrest Wang not having the perfect first corner there. It gets on the inside of the curb, transitions back. Bagsy has to make an adjustment a little bit to stay with him. This is where everyone's nice and neat. But again, as they transition back to this last outer zone, Wang looks like he comes a little bit away from that outer zone, and Bagsy kind of follows him there as well. So not the perfect lead and chase. This one might come down to a couple of mistakes made by each driver. But how cool is it to see these guys going up against each other? America and the UK. I mean, the effort that these guys have put in to be here this weekend is just sensational. We are so lucky to be not only witnessing it online, but for you guys here in the flesh to be seeing this happen in front of your very eyes. If you're a drift fan, this is stuff that, you know, you think about when you play online or you pick your favorite character, and this is happening. This is all the Ronaldos and Messis of the world coming into one event here in Mondello Park to put on a show. And right now, I think this one's very much in the balance. It's all going to come down to this second run between Wang and Bagsy. It's a top 32 battle. Who will go to the top 16 main event? Bagsy to lead him in.
Bagsy leads in Forrest Wang as Wang fires it up. Bagsy, a big angle. Can Wang hang with him? He certainly can now. Forrest Wang looks for the door of the Monster Energy PS13. Bagsy nice and deep into outside for almost dropping wheels, but Wang's right with him, almost contact as Forrest Wang gets on the door of Bagsy. They transition back, Bagsy nice on the wall. Wang steps away but now stands back on it and pushes. Steve Bagsy Biaggioni across the line. Mondello raised the roof.
That one is in the balance, Ian. Mistakes from both drivers on the first run, but Bagsy came out with a better lead run, Wang out with a better chase run. That is going to be an interesting one to see which way the judges go. If you're in the grandstand, give it up for Forrest Wang and Steve Bagsy Biaggioni. As they exit the car, our judges deliberate. Guys, hit them with a wall of sound from the grandstand. They've made a massive effort to be here this weekend for your entertainment. And if you're watching it online, you know what's about to go down for the next couple of hours here in Mondello Park. This is the big finale of the Drift Masters European Championship. And we promised you one of the best events in the world. But so far in the top 32, it hasn't disappointed. Judges will now go to our scoreboard. Who is going to go through to the top 16? Slide them left for Bagsy, right for Forrest Wang. One vote for Forrest Wang. 2 votes for Forrest Wang, and he goes through to our top 16. We throw it back quickly to the judges. Talk us through it, guys. A tough call there.
Actually, it was really not an easy call. If we compare the lead runs, Bagsy had slightly better lead run. He was way better at inner zone 2. But we need to really look on the chase runs. In the chase runs, Forrest were way better in proximity, occupying completely at the angle, and that's the reason why he went through. Marek.
So there we have it. Moving on to our next battle. Well, there's an interesting one. Conor Shanahan and Mark McBurney, 2 Irish young guns coming up against each other in the final of the European Championship. McBurney making it through from the top 8. And the one thing that's noticeable here with Hipke now going into a one more time with Mitch Larner, he sits second in the championship. Shanahan will be looking on at that, saying that this is the time. But look at McBurney. He's gone off the line like a rocket here, not letting Shanahan away. Could it be Mark McBurney's day today?
Mark McBurney's going to be looking for the door, and a young man from Link Engine Management and Westlake Tyres. But look at Connor Shanahan as he fires through the course. McBurney makes the dive on the door, and out of zone 4 now starts to push Connor Shanahan through the circuit. Shanahan unfazed, puts the car to the wall, gets nice and deep into out of zone 6. McBurney though right with him. McBurney pedaling that little red S13 all the way across the line.
Two of the most talented up-and-comers in the Irish drift scene head-to-head. These guys have had some history in the past, some controversial decisions going both ways over the couple of years they've been alive here in the Irish Drift Championship. The last 2 years, these guys have really made a name for themselves, and what a fitting occasion in front of the eyes of the world to be going out against each other. But McBurney cutting track to try and stay with Shanahan. Shanahan looks like he is on rails today. McBurney having to make some sacrifices, but he does get pretty good proximity towards the end of the run. Coming through that smoke screen is just one of the coolest parts of this track. They just disappear for a moment, and you can imagine if we can't see them, they can't see anything either. They just got to hope that the car in front of them is out of the way by the time they transition. McBurney doing a good job there, staying very much in the fight.
In the fight he is, Dave, and now he sits in the lead position against Connor Shanahan. Now, the biggest problem for me that I find with Mark McBurney is he makes a rash decision on initiation. He's known for his backwards and his flair on initiation. Let's hope he doesn't throw it all away as Mark McBurney now leads in Connor Shanahan for a spot in top 16. Shanahan slots his car in gear. He's going to be hungry to move on in this championship.
As they come through the gears and slam it up over those two crests before they enter that blind corner, McBurney throws it. Look at Shanahan. Wow, contact as they come through the first corner, but they keep in it. As Shanahan now dives through the track. McBurney's on big angle. Will he hold it? He will, and Shanahan also doesn't hold it. Who went 2 wheels off first? Maybe it's McBurney. I'm not sure what happened there, but they're staying in the fight here. It's all going to come down to that Link Engine Management corner, and what happened there, Ian? It looked like McBurney went on a full over rotation, but then stayed in it. Did Shanahan drop? Did McBurney drop? We got to check the replay. Watch for the rear wheels. Look at Shanahan here. Absolutely phenomenal there. But watch McBurney. Does he drop 2 wheels here over?
Oh,
he does, yeah. So it looks like McBurney drops 2 wheels over the track. So does Shanahan. Now that would mean a 0-0 Drift Masters rules, so a 0-0 for both guys would be called there, meaning it would come down to the first run. So yeah, a little bit of a change of rules if you're used to action here at Mondello Park. And the Drift Masters guys, let's see this. I mean, it's a guarantee. McBurney is definitely 2 wheels onto the concrete. Then Shanahan is 2 wheels onto the concrete. That could be a 0-0 there for both of those guys not staying on the track. So results will come in. Slide him left for McBurney, slide him right for Connor Shanahan, who is going through to the top 16, and it's Connor Shanahan getting the win and going to the top 16. Quickly back to our judges. We call that second run a 0-0. Is that how you guys saw it?
Not quite, Dave. Okay, there was a 0, so an incomplete scored, but it was because of Mark. Mark came in far too hot and had to slow up drastically, even put 2 wheels off. Connor had absolutely nowhere to go there, and to avoid making contact with Mark, he also had to go off. We deemed that Mark was at fault for this, therefore he gets the incomplete, but Connor does not. So therefore Connor gets the win for that run and overall.
Well, there you have it from Kevin O'Connell. So not a 0-0. Connor Shanahan avoiding impact with Mark McBurney. Now we're back to the one more time. I was watching this one as a fan just off camera earlier on. Now I'm in the hot seat. I'm ready for this one. Larner and Hipke, they've now felt each other out a little bit. Australia versus Poland. Who is going to go through? And they're hungry for it straight off the line. Look at Hipke chasing down Larner into that first corner. But a little bit of separation here.
Yeah, big separation this time, Dave. As Mitch Larner fires through. Oh, Hipke goes off track. Hipke goes off track. Mitch Larner keeps his cool, stays in it. And this looks like a perfect lead run for Mitch Larner. Gregor Hipke left in the shadows of Mitch Larner's smoke clouds as Larner finishes off the run. And Hipke questioning his position in the top 32.
Well, it looked to me like Gregor Hipke just gave away too much pace on that run in. He came off the line just in time, as you can see. But he just couldn't catch the V8-powered Zestino tire car of Mitch Larner. And watch this as they throw in. Larner locking that inside wheel. Hipke comes through, but it's just in that smoke cloud. You see, it's definitely 2 wheels off there, Ian, off the track. And yeah, he's missing all the zones from that point on. That is a huge advantage to, if not, in fact, it might be a 10-0 to Mitch Larner with 2 wheels off the track from Gregor Hipke. I'm sure our judges are probably going to sway in that direction. And could we see an Australian outdo a Polish driver here in the top 32? That top 16 right now is just looking a little bit special. We're not going to give too much away just yet, but at the end of this top 32, I think we may just be set up for something incredible. You can see just how much dirt Hipke throws up into the air. But Grzegorz Hipke, he's been down a lot of times this season, and I've seen him come back into fights that we definitely thought he was counted out of. He still has a shot here in the lead position. The Polish driver can get the job done here. If Lerner makes a big mistake, he's going to have to hope for a miracle here, as they are both given the green light to go, and off the line they come through the gears once again. Full throttle into that first corner. Big weight transference from Hipke. Big angle. Lerner's right there.
Lana right on the door, look at this. Oh, and Hipke goes off track again. Lana stays in it, Lana keeps his cool. Hipke now starts to get back on throttle, but he's lost a lot of ground and he's opened the door massively for Mitch Lana. Lana makes a big error. Hipke shuts it down.
He's got an issue in the car. I think that might have been the story of what happened on that first corner. Hipke shuts it down, and maybe this could be another victory for Mitch Lerner here. Guys, round of applause for Grzegorz Hipke. What a competitor this weekend. Gave it everything, but has an issue with the rear end of the car. And Hipke, who's second in the Drift Masters European Championship right now, will he stay there until the end of the event? We are not so sure. If you're in the grandstand or around the arena, give these guys a big round of applause as the results drop in here in the top 32. And there it is. Mitch Lerner's going to the top 16. Obvious one there. Judges Hipke not completing either run. And Lerner, he's getting that Irish crowd behind him. A real showman.
He's almost Irish now.
He's almost Irish. He spends enough time here almost to get a visa, I think, at this stage. But he is a very battered and bruised car, continuing on after so much impact yesterday. But he's back in the top 16 where he wants to be. You know what? I'm going to wait, Ian, until the end of top 32.
I'm not saying anything.
To tell you what's happening. Okay, next up. Well, it's an all-British Drift Championship affair as Matt Carter, the current British Drift champion, goes up against Aramis Vasquez, one of the wild card entries this weekend. Carter hit the podium yesterday, beaten by James Dean in the final of the Irish Drift Championship, but now it's all reset back to zero. And for where I'm sitting, Vasquez looking stronger today than ever. So 2 internationals, meaning one of these guys will go through to the top 16, but will it be Lithuania or will it be the UK? Let's see how this one goes down. Carter in the Jaspeed R32 to lead him in.
They come off the line and start smashing through the gears as Vasquez doesn't give Carter an inch. They fire it in. Vasquez knows Matt Carter like the back of his hand, but washes wide. Vasquez makes a big straight, and this is a huge error for Vasquez. Carter looks absolutely planted though as he completely fulfills out of zone 4. Starts to make the transition and back on the door now. Does come Vasquez, but Vasquez almost makes contact and almost over-rotates. Vasquez comes to a standstill and finishes off the run the same way he started it, with a straight.
Well, it did seem to me like there was a small bit of contact there, but Aramis Vasquez just a little wild throughout the run. Carter comes through that first corner. Vasquez gets a little bit of understeer and pushes the nose of that car, and then it's a dive on the inside of the track, so that is exactly what you don't want to do. He gets back in it, but he's really cutting the track to be there, not on the qualifying line. Let's just check for the contact here. Was there some contact between both guys? Yeah, a little bit of contact on the front end of both cars, and Vasquez has to back out of it as Carter takes it across the line. He's looking pretty unstoppable this weekend, Matt Carter. I don't think I've seen this determination in Matt Carter in quite some time. I think he believes he can beat anybody out there right now.
Well, self-belief is something that me and Eddie spoke about earlier, and I felt that the guy that was going to take it home this weekend would have the self-belief, and I think Matt Carter's got self-belief, and he feels that he's the strongest competitor on the circuit. They've lined back up, and they are ready to go for the second run. This time, Aramis Vasquez will lead out Matt Carter for a spot in the top 16. They get the thumbs up from both drivers. They are off the line. Vasquez to lead out Carter. He clips the cone on the start line. Does Aramis Vasquez.
And Vasquez throws it into that first corner. Carter is there right with him. Oh, and Vasquez putting almost 2 wheels off the track, Ian, as Carter now starts to make the dive.
Matt Carter goes for another dive onto the door. Aramis Vasquez way offline, and Matt Carter is right with Vasquez, pushing his front bumper off the car as they finish it off the run. Matt Carter pushing the front bumper off of Aramis Vasquez's car with his front wheel. Incredible stuff. Look at this. We go back to the replay to see exactly what went down. Matt Carter jumped off the start line. That is, of course, a legal move from Matt Carter, being in the chase position. Nice initiation from both guys. Matt Carter just dropping a wheel over the edge of the curve, though, it stays in it. Vasquez puts in a much better lead run this time, almost dropping 2 wheels. It looked like it actually was 2 wheels. Carter stays with him, though. Good transition back through outer zone 5 into outer zone 6. Now, Vasquez not deep in outer zone 6, and this, look at this. The front bumper of Vasquez's car knocked off by the front wheel of Matt Carter. Unbelievable stuff here. Does look like the judges have made a decision, though, Dave?
Yeah, slide him left for Armas Vasquez, right for Matt Carter. Will it be Lithuania or UK going to the top 16? And our judges say 1 vote for Matt Carter, 2 votes for Matt Carter, and he is going through to the top 16. And it is stacking up in that top 16 right now as Armas Vasquez eliminated from the competition. Pretty obvious one from you guys? Fairly obvious there. I mean, Armas Vasquez was cutting all over the track. I mean, even we could figure that one out.
The look that they gave you then, Dave,
They gave me a look to say, you've watched enough of this now, Dave, that you should know that you cannot be driving around in the middle of the track and spinning around and winning. And I'm just making sure.
Okay, it's fine.
Okay, next battle up. It will be Germany versus Sweden. Joe Hutonji, one of the Red Bull Drift brothers, go up against Christian Erlandson in that Subaru BRZ with 932 horsepower. That is 1,632 horsepower on the start line in Mondello Park. You might even have that in an entire touring car race here in Mondello Park about a week ago. And they have got it between 2 cars on the start line. Erlandson capable of big things, but Joe Hutonji said he's coming for it this weekend. He said he wants to climb that championship order, but now's his chance to shine. Erlandson's got to stay with him here.
Certainly has. Joe Hutonji is a very strong competitor, and he said he's coming for it. He said Mondello Park, get ready. Oh, Erlandson makes a huge error. Erlandson makes a huge error, goes off circuit as Joe Hutonji stays in it and gets a yellow flag. He will have to slow down ever so slightly. He certainly does. Huge error. Not sure what happened there for Christian Erlandson. I'm sure the judges are going to want to see a replay of that. Off the start line, Erlandson fires the car in. Just doesn't look like it initiates. Grabs a whole load of understeer.
Yeah, it looks like understeer was the issue, Ian, as you just said. It looked like he just, just shot straight forward. They're lucky not to make contact, in fact.
Exactly what I was going to say. Very, very lucky he didn't make contact with the back end of Joe Hutonji's Red Bull Drift Brothers 180SX. So Joe Hutonji will be sitting with a 10-0 advantage. Look at this, you can just see from a replay, look how close he is, goes underneath the rear spoiler, almost takes the back end off that car, but Joe Hutonji doing a sterling job. And I think you're right, Dave, I think these guys are driving through marbles, and I think that's causing a big issue.
It is an issue, and it's something that is the same for all drivers, especially when you have a crossover track. And we had it similarly in Turin, when you have those marbles building up in the center section of the track, it does give you that a little bit of a waiver, but look, if these guys are the best of the best, that's what we're putting up against it here. And Joe Hutonji now will switch into the chase position with a 10-0 advantage from the first run. You can imagine Erlandson, an unforced error there, understeering, and just not getting that 932 horsepower to the ground to get around that first corner.
Well, Christian Erlandsson's got one more shot at the chance to get in top 16. They come off the line. It will be Christian Erlandson to lead in Joe Hutonji for a spot in top 16. Hutonji sticks to the back bumper, though, of that little Subaru BRZ as they fire it in. No such troubles this time for Christian Erlandson as he absolutely flies through outside three. Oh, but gets on the dirt. Oh, my God. How did Christian Erlandson hold on to that transition? He was practically backwards into outer zone 4. Christian Erlandson holds onto it, puts his car to the wall one more time, stands on the accelerator and smokes Joe Hutonji out of the situation. Christian Erlandson and Joe Hutonji putting on a show.
You know what? I don't think Erlandsson's going to get the win here, but he might just get the trophy for save of the year because he was gone. There was no way he was going to hold that, and he did hold it. Watch this as he transitions through. There is no way anyone holds this. Erlandson fires through massive speed here, and watch this transition back. He is gone, and then just powers on and stays in it. Amazing.
I called it an over-rotation, and I mean, I was surprised to see him come out the other side of it. Unbelievable driving from both of these guys, but looks like our judges do have a decision.
Yeah, decision coming through. Slide him left for Erlandson, slide him right for Joe Hutonji. 1 vote for Joe Hutonji. 2 votes, and it's Joe Hutonji going through to the top 16, keeping his championship charge alive. And as they leave the circuit right now, Christian Erlsson and the Swede will bow out of competition. We're going to see one of the Red Bull Drift brothers into the top 16. This is one I picked out earlier on. A man builds a car in his shed in Ireland on a budget of just a couple of €1,000, going up against a Formula Drift Dodge Viper 1,000 horsepower of Dean Carney. It could only happen in a championship like the Drift Masters European Championship. This is obviously Paul McCarthy going in here as a huge underdog in terms of power, but on his form, on his day, McCarthy can get anything right on this track. It will be McCarthy to lead in Carney as they come up the straight. Smoke from both cars.
And straight to the door goes Dean Carnage. Carney absolutely unbelievable so far. Carnage finds himself in the middle of the circuit. Oh, he's got to be careful. He's going to over-rotate. Carnage puts himself in the wrong position and makes a huge error now as McCarthy looks absolutely settled. Stands on the accelerator to Paul McCarthy, and Paul both goes across the line.
You know what? I think that was amazing aggression from Dean Carney, but he might have overcooked it there. I'm not sure if that's the way the judges are going to see it, but it looked like Carney...
There was some form of contact as well. Sorry, Dave. If you watch the front bumper of Paul McCarthy's car...
Carney just gets on the inside here, hits the front of McCarthy's car, and yeah, just he kind of cut the corner a little bit there. It looked like Dean Carney just being super aggressive throughout the whole run. Gets back on it. Both guys finished the run, so I don't think there's going to be any zeros handed out there. But, I mean, these guys hold no punches now.
Well, you can't. It's not that kind of championship. You need to be on your A game, and you need to be putting everything out there. And these guys are definitely doing that. As we see Dean Carnage pull back to the start line, he will now get the opportunity to lead in Paul McCarthy. Paul McCarthy being the higher qualifier of those two guys, though, Dave. And you can see there the front bumper, or what remains of Paul McCarthy's front bumper, just hanging up.
He knocked off the front bumper yesterday. He drove over his own front bumper yesterday. He fixed it, put it back on, and now it's gone again. So I don't think Paul McCarthy is destined to have a front bumper.
It's had a hard season.
Yeah, it's had a hard season, that car. But it looks to me like he may have the advantage here. I mean, it looked like he wasn't super fluid through the course, but Carney looked like he made the bigger mistake as he started to just dive in there. And again, if you're hitting the front wheel of the lead car, you're way too far up. You sort of door and back is kind of where you need to be in a chase position. I'm not too sure which way the judges will look at it, but it's another run left to go. And we get another run to watch this incredible Dodge Viper with 1,000 horsepower come over the hill in Mondello Park, shipped in from the USA for this weekend. And Paul McCarthy from Tipperary, just down the road, has built this car in his own shed. Every part of this car is homemade. It's just, where would it happen? David and Goliath stuff happening right now on track. Carney in the lead, McCarthy in the chase, and look at the speed of Carney's Viper here.
Yeah, Dean Carney absolutely fires that car in. Like you say, Dave, you can see the pace that car has got as he tries to claw back some lost points by putting in a brilliant lead run. Paul McCarthy sacrificing line, though, to get on the door. As Dean Carney makes a perfect dive onto the wall, nice and deep, falls off of outer zone 6, so judges going to be looking at, but Paul McCarthy way offline to try and gain some form of proximity as they both come across the finish line. Not sure which way that could go.
Well, that's asking more questions than an answer, that second run for me, because Carney's got a massive pull here. Look at the speed of that car going up the straight. It looks like McCarthy has issues going up the straight. There's smoke coming from the back of the car. He's either wheel spinning or something's happening. Not a lot of pace in the car whatsoever. And in my, Carney was down on the first run, but now does he gain a big advantage? Surely he does for having such a lead. And of course, this isn't a race to the finish. You got to stay on that qualifying line, and Carney does come away from it a little bit towards the end. But through the first corner, it looked like Dean Carney had all the advantage there. And Paul McCarthy not able to make any proximity count. Let's look at this on the second one. McCarthy goes into the first corner. Carney's got good proximity here. He comes in, dives in, stays in it. To be fair, Dean Carney there doesn't make contact. Makes a bit of an early dive, makes an error there. That's the area of error from Carney. But he does get back on it, though, pretty quickly and get back into the fight. So this is going to be an interesting one. One big error from Carney on one run, had no proximity from McCarthy on the other. What way will the judges call it? So our judges have made a decision. It's for a spot in the top 16. Will it be Dean Carney or Paul McCarthy? Slide him left for Carney, right for McCarthy. Kieran says Paul McCarthy. And that little E36 might just be going to the top 16, and it is. Wow, obvious decision for some, maybe not for others. Guys, talk us through it. Some mistakes on both sides.
Dean absolutely left Paul on the start line and had a massive gap, but Paul did reel him in a little bit towards the end of the run while somewhat staying on the qualifying line, but there was a fairly sizable bit of cutting. But Dean came away with a massive advantage for the second run, but it all really comes down to the first one, and it was Paul was on a fantastic lead line, nothing causing Dean then to absolutely dive in at outer zone 4, make slight contact, over-rotate with Paul, and then straighten up for a few seconds. So we deemed that then to be an incomplete run. So Paul has more of an advantage from the first run than Dean had from his second run. So Paul gets the win.
Well, there you have it. And just before we go to our next battle, we have got Eddie Power in the pits. He is checking out the progress with Adam Zalewski.
The championship may have been decided with James Dean taking it at the previous round, but second and third in the championship has just been blown wide open. Second and third have bowed out at top 32, meaning Conor Shanahan, who's already through to the top 16, sitting in 5th place. He could jump right into the mix. And the man behind me, flying the Polish flag, the 2017 champion, Adam Zalewski, well, he's got to go through Oliver Evans, and if he can do so, could he end his season on a high? He already narrowly missed out on taking down James Dean at the last round. Could he go one step further and take the win? We're going to find out, but I don't know what the weather's like up where you are. Right down here at the gridding area, well, a little bit of rain coming down as well. So could that make things a little bit interesting? Who knows?
Yeah, a little spit of rain, as Eddie mentioned. Well, that's going to make the first corner absolutely treacherous for our next battle between Tor Arne Kavia and Michael Reichardt. It will be Norway versus the Czech Republic. Both guys going exceptionally well. Michael Reichardt having issues on the second run, going absolutely crazy into that first corner. He's one of the wildest drivers on the grid. I just love his style. You just never know what's going to happen. But Kavia put in such good qualifying runs. I honestly think he could be the one to watch today, but they've got to be very careful. They will be coming into sort of a spit on the first corner. The tarmac's going to be greasy, and if you're not used to Mondello Park, when that little bit of rain comes in, it is like glass there. Both of these guys are not going to expect it. We may see a spin here.
We could see fireworks as they come off the line. It is Tor Arne Kavia to lead in Michael Reichardt right now as they fire those cars through the initiation. No such trouble zone for Tor Arne Kavia as he stands on the accelerator. Oh, Michael Reichardt shuts it down. Now makes a dive as Kavia fires it into outer zone 4. Reichardt's trying to stay with him, but big mistake on initiation. Reichardt comes through the smoke screen as Kavia gets on that absolutely perfect line and nails that lead run. Absolutely perfect.
It's hard to deny that anybody here isn't impressed with Tor Arne Kavia. His line on this track, you would swear this guy was driving this track for the last 10 years. He is on rails. He looks like he's playing Scalextrics out there. He hasn't made a mistake all day. And Reichardt, big error on the first corner, just makes a complete meal of the first corner. Gets back in it though, nice proximity towards the end, but I think the damage may have been done from the first half of the run. Kavia looking really, really solid in the lead position. He is going to be very hard to stop today, and I'm nearly going to go as far as saying he could be one of my favorites so far. Just how comfortable he is out there, and he doesn't seem to be really pushing too far yet. I'm sure when it gets to later in the competition. That said, we're not wrapping this one up yet because Michael Reichardt, as we've counted him out before, can pull something like that. Remember, any mechanical failures, anything goes wrong, a debeated tire, and that could be the end of Kavia's day. So he's still got to get the job done here in the next 40 seconds. They come off the line. Can Kavia keep the cool? As all Norwegians should be able to, and get himself into the top 16. Or Reichardt pulled something out of the bag. They're off the line.
They certainly are. Michael Reichardt now opposite flicks it in. Big angle initiation from Michael Reichardt as he comes in very hot. Kavia's on the grass. He drops a wheel. Kavia now needs to put himself back into the battle. Can he find himself back inside this competition as he now starts to make a dive onto Michael Reichardt's door? Michael Reichardt, just as they predicted, lays it down. But Kavia is right there as the rain starts to beat down at Mondello Circuit. As we look to the replay, you can see Michael Reichardt fires that car in absolutely textbook initiation, but where does Torani Kavia. You could see him kicking up some dust, dropping wheels. Was it 2 wheels off circuit? Was it enough to overturn that deficit of Mikael Reichart's first half of the battle? Only the judges will define that one, as they both put in a very good run.
Just a side note, Ian, I was doing a little bit of notes there that at the moment, more internationals into the top 16 than Irish drivers at this time. So, guys, give a big round of applause for Tor Arne Kavia and Michael Reichardt. Slide him left for Reichardt, slide him right for Tor Arne Kavia, who is going through to the top 16. 1 vote for Tor Arne Kavia, and Kavia gets the win and goes through to the top 16. Norway make it through to the top 16. Reichardt's mistake on the first run, just not enough to overcome anything that happened on the second run. So Kavia comfortably through to the top 16, and that top 16 is pretty incredible looking right now. So we have got a top 32 battle that sounds like a final from European drifting about 2-3 years ago. Next up, we will see David Karkošek go up against Yanis Iglite, 2 of the biggest heavyweights in European drifting. And here they are in the top 32 of the final. David Karkošek, Yanis Iglite, the rain spinning a little heavier now. Ian just starting to grease that surface up. This is going to be interesting. Are they going to be tentative? Are they going to just go for it? You can't be too tentative because the other guy's really good and won loads of championships. So this is going to be interesting. Latvia versus Poland on the line. And Karkošek will be in the lead position. He's made a meal of the rear end of that car already. He is not worried about going to walls for the rest of today. Long season, off season to fix that. Here we go. You can see wipers on. It is going to be wet conditions for this run. Oh! Wow. Karkošek loses control. So does Iglite. And big errors from Karkošek in the lead. Iglite given really nowhere to go. That's what happens. That first corner, Ian, when the rain comes down.
Well, and the rain has started to fall ever so slightly more, Dave, as we can see these 2 guys finish off their run. Something to note, very interesting, that the guys at home or watching a live stream are not going to be able to see, is that from where our vantage point is, I can see clear blue skies. So this is literally just a shower that's going to wet the circuit, then it's going to dry back out again. Could Karkošek or Iglite get knocked out in a formality?
Well, I mean,
a twist in the story.
It's like changing channel and watching 2 different events, because the battle before is all smoke. One battle later, you've got these guys in the rain, and then I mean, as we said, blue skies to our right. So this is going to pass over and then start drying rapidly again. They might have just got really unlucky here.
Exactly that. It's nearly full wet. You can see a little bit of tire smoke from both those cars, but the rain is beating down as they make their way back to the start line. The next run will be full wet. It will be a full wet run, and then potentially the next battle after that starts drying out again. They're not making it easy, Dave. This is going to be the most difficult round of the championship all year.
Absolutely, and of course it always gets interesting here in Ireland when the weather is so patchy like this. You've got to be so good in the wet and the dry. You've got to adjust the car so many times a day to handle these situations. I mean, at this point in time, it looks like Karkošek made the bigger error. He just didn't get going at all, and Iglite had nowhere to go. But let's see which way the judges call it. They got to go back in again. They should have learned from that one, Ian. They'll be a lot more tentative here.
Well, they're off the line, and look at the rain as it beats down. Iglite smashes through the gears. Karkošek not giving Iglite an inch, though, as they fire it in. Iglite manages to balance an initiation this time. So does Karkošek. Karkošek right with Iglite. You can hear these guys barely on throttle as they tickle. 800 horsepower around Mondello Park. Karkošek right there on the door with Yanis Iglite. Iglite doing an absolutely perfect job in this wet weather. Sticking it to the wall. Karkošek now makes one more attempt at a dive onto the door, and he certainly does. He gets right there with Yanis Iglite as Iglite and Karkošek come across the line in unpredictable conditions.
I think if we had a tagline for this event, it would just be unpredictable. Who knows? I have no idea, because the rain that was forecast didn't come, then a little bit of it came, and then these guys are out there on slippery track on top of it's just been impossible to judge the grip there. That's a lottery battle. That's exactly what that is, and I don't think it's a true reflection of either driver. But let's see who is going through the top 16. Slide him left for Yanis Iglite, right for David Karkošek. 1 vote for Yanis Iglite. And Yanis Iglite gets the win and goes through to the top 16. He'll be back in action later on in the top 16, and it's stacking up. And again, we got to go into a fully wet next battle. Karkoshik obviously making a huge error on his lead run there, not even getting drifting going, so that cost him. But this is an interesting one. Young gun from Ireland up against the third-ranked driver in Sweden. Where would you get it? Only here in the Drift Masters European Championship. Alan Hines is going to take on Jim Olofsson. And Alan Hines with more experience on this track, but Olofsson with more experience behind the wheel in general. This one could be interesting.
It certainly will be, as Jim Olofsson gives us the thumbs up to the camera. You can see Alan Hines pumping the window. He's hyped, he's ready for this. He knows a wet Mondello circuit. And look at that, as they run down, you can see clear blue skies ahead. But what awaits them is a wet circuit. They come off the line, it will be Alan Hines to take on Jim Olofsson for a spot in top 16. Jim Olofsson staying with the young gunners. They both fire it in. Olofsson hangs onto the back end of that Pro Drift Academy S14. Oh, both guys making errors though. Both guys making errors. As Alan Hines drop wheels off the circuit, Jim Olofsson stays in it and stays on the door. Oh, what an over-rotation from Alan Hines. An uncharacteristic move from the local lad.
Well, I would not have expected Alan Hines with so much practice down on this track to be making errors like that, but it goes to show at this level of the competition, anything can happen. Jim Olofsson, turn a pace here. You know what I mean? He's been doing really good in the Swedish Championship this year. We haven't really seen him, you know, take strides in the European Championship, but on that occasion, kept his cool.
Hey,
look at that entry from Jim Olofsson.
He needs a break, right?
He does need a break. He's kind of washing. Oh, yeah, both drivers sliding off the track there. Very slippery out there, Ian. Very, very slippery.
I mean, the craziest thing for me right now is we're in the tower. I can see the packed grandstands with the umbrellas up. It's absolutely pouring with rain. But literally 100 foot, probably where Eddie is on the grid, is sunshine.
I would imagine the other side of Mondello Park right now is sunshine. And right now, this shower just passing overhead. So these guys in these couple of battles here in the top 32 are getting very unlucky, in my opinion, Ian. Very, very unlucky.
Yeah, the first half of the bracket was completely dry, as you mentioned, and yeah, these guys seem to be getting a complete turn of fortune right now as the rain continues to beat down. But they're back on the line. Jim Olofsson slots his car into gear. He's focused. Eyes on the prize for Jim Olofsson. Nothing to lose. Alan Hines comes off the line in chase position.
Olofsson, yeah, coming through the gears, and he throws in. Look at Hines, though. He wants this one. He knows he's at a big disadvantage. He can do nothing else but try and chase Jim Olofsson for the rest of this run as close as humanly possible, and he's making a good go of it here. But the rain continues to pour, very slippy conditions. Maybe Olofsson with the more experience in these conditions from Scandinavia, and right now he just, oh, and a contact between both cars as Olofsson transitions in front of Alan Hines. Olofsson putting foot to floor, and look at Hines right there with Jim Olofsson in incredibly difficult conditions. Did everything he could do there, the young Irishman, but Olofsson looking very strong right now. I have to say, very impressed with that performance in the slippery conditions. Olofsson looks like an experienced pro, and it's schooling the younger driver around the track.
I like what we did there, Dave. Schooling the younger drivers. It's good. Who's going to take it?
In Alan Hines' case, it may be lecturing because he is in college.
He's a little, yeah.
Yeah, so let's see which way it goes. Slide him left for Jim Olofsson, right for Alan Hines, who's going through to the top 16. One vote for Jim Olofsson. Will he get another and go through? He will indeed. Jim Olofsson's going to the top 16. Obvious one there. Alan Hines spinning out. Can't be spinning out, Ian. At this level, you're just going to be going home.
Yeah, well, what can you say? He spun out, it's a zero, it's a drifting competition. Jim Olofsson proved that all of his experience, as you mentioned, Dave, was the one that proved on strong. We keep it going, though, and the next battle on the line, well, it's not going to be a small battle by any means. It's going to be Paweł Trela to take on Paweł Korpelinski. Poland versus Poland.
This one is interesting because Trela's been sort of that guiding light of Polish drifting for many years. He's been the guy everyone's wanted to beat, wanted to be. And Korpelinski's a new kid on the block. He's come through in the last season or two and just been sensational. You couldn't pick two more obviously different machines, an Opel GT with a 2JZ and a 1M BMW. But these guys have both hit very close to the podium or top of qualifying for Korpelinski in that case. Trela's hit the podium in Torun. They are exceptionally good drivers, probably in the top 5 drivers in Polish drift history, in my opinion. And right now, they go to war against each other here in Ireland. This is going to be very, very interesting. Trela to lead in Korpelinski. Let's see what happens. Conditions are awful. Can they handle them?
Well, it looks like they can, Dave, as they're firing. Oh, Korpelinski tack in the back end. of Pavel Trella's car. They looked like they was hanging on to that, but Korpolinski just making contact with the back end of Trella's car, just putting him off circuit. They both shut down and drive the rest of the run. And just going to take a quick look at the replay. This nice initiation from Trella. I'm going to say without the contact from Korpolinski, Trella could have put in a good run there.
You know, I was just in the back of my mind thinking, was Trella's car the worst option ever with the short wheelbase in this in these conditions on that corner? And he held it, and the BMW driver, Korpolinski, just bumps into the back of him. Looks very straightforward. There's sunshine on the start line right now, and it's raining where we are. This place that makes no sense. Of course, having the 6th round of the Drift Masters European Championship in the Bermuda Triangle was always going to be our option. And then we said, look, if we can have 4 or 5 different weather conditions at the same time, that's the ultimate challenge. It's like, you know, when the cars go into those wind tunnels, that's kind of what this place is.
Don't make it easy.
So you just turn a knob and go, turn up the sun there a little bit, and turn down the rain, and a little bit more wind, and we should be fine. So it's sunny again on the start line, and we are still in the rain down here, spectating away in the middle of the track. So it looks like that shower is passing overhead pretty rapidly. It will start to dry from that point on, but enough water down to disrupt the rest of the top 32, I think, now, Ian.
I don't think that water's going to drive very easily, like you say, Dave. And these guys pull back to the start line. Korpolinski now sits in the lead position. Trella, for me, sits with more with the advantage, most definitely. Trella now going to be wondering, can Korpolinski put a run down in this? And we're just going to get our start line marshal just to check over Trella's car ever slightly. So these guys wait on the line. Looks like Trella is going to get the thumbs up and ready to go. And these guys will have the second half of their battle for a spot in top 16. So, thumbs up from both our drivers. It now will be Pavel Korpolinski to lead in Pavel Trella for a spot in top 16. Can Korpolinski put in a lead run? As you can see, bone dry now, no rain falling. As Korpolinski fires it in, can he hold on to it? It looks like Korpolinski might just hold on to it. We might just get a run out of both these guys. A big separation though. Trella leaves Korpolinski some room to manoeuvre. Big clutch kick from Pavel Trella as he now sits on the back bumper of that BMW 1M. Korpolinski fires his car to the door. Can he get to the outer zone? Oh, he just falls short of it. Korpolinski struggling to balance that car as Trella tries to find the door, but big separation as they both put a run in and come across the line. In tricky weather conditions, Drift Masters European Championship round 6 and not making it easy for our contenders. Pavel Trella and Pavel Korpolinski pull up to our flag marshal. Who will get the win? Who will go through to the top 16? Slide them left for Korpolinski, you're right for Pavel Trella. Kieran Hines says. Pavel Trella. Kevin O'Connell says. Pavel Trella, there you go. Pavel Trella gets the win and advances through to the top 16. Korpolinski bows out competition. No need to go to our judges. Making contact with the lead car and putting him into a spin, Dave, is not what we're looking for.
No, and of course, in these conditions, you've got to be very careful how you enter that first good corner. One slight over-rotation or a little bit too aggressive, you're better off almost to play it safe on that first corner. Let the work get done in the second half, but how do you play it safe on a grid like this? I mean, it's an impossible task for these guys, and unfortunately for Pavel Korpolinski, who I expected to be right up there this weekend, Trella proved the clever driver, more experienced driver, and get through that first corner. Moving along, next up, it's an all-Irish affair. Jack Shanahan versus Kevin Quinn, and Shanahan looking to join his brother in the top 16. Quinn looking for his highest finish ever in the European Championship because it's his first day in the European Championship. A man that's very much interested in becoming part of this grid next year. But what a great way to announce your arrival by taking on one of the big guns. So they're off the line. Jack Shanahan leading in Kevin Quinn. And Kevin Quinn's right there with him in the rain. Oh, big slide. Shanahan's gone. Shanahan looked like he's gone. Did Shanahan wash on the first corner there? I'm not sure if Kevin Quinn followed him where he was going, but it looked to me like Jack Shanahan just washed through that first corner and did not get any grip whatsoever. Not exactly sure what happened there.
No, Shanahan came in super hot. I know he's very confident in this circuit. I know he's put in a lot of runs around here. We're going to go to a replay. You guys in attendance can see on the big screen. Kevin Quinn, though, very brave manoeuvre from Kevin Quinn. Look at this, a front bumper past Jack Shanahan's car as, yeah, Shanahan does go off circuit first. Kevin Quinn spins, so that will be a 0-0, I do believe, regarding Drift Masters European Championship rules. And look at this big angle. Shanahan tries to keep a hold of it. Kevin Quinn just not able to do anything about it. Can't save it. Puts himself into a spin. And Jack Shanahan, look at this, gets very, very wide. Drops wheels, bows out of it. Waits till he finds himself back on circuit. And then gets himself back online. But potentially 2 zeros there. Potentially. What do I know? As Dave Egan would say, I'm sometimes always wrong. We go back to the start line. It will now be Kevin Quinn to lead out Jack Shanahan. As both of these guys sit on the line, Jack Shanahan has his hands on his head. He knows he made a huge error in the lead position. Kevin Quinn, Jack Shanahan off the line. Kevin Quinn to lead in Jack Shanahan for a spot in top 16. All Irish affair, as Dave Egan said earlier. But look at the separation now as Kevin Quinn fires. It's going, oh, and
He's gone.
Kevin Quinn goes off track there.
I think that might turn it around. I'm not sure what way it's going to. Maybe not turning around. It'd be a 0.
Well, apparently, the look I'm getting, I was wrong again.
We are not getting any cars through the tracking. And that's literally what's happening. The rain has really disrupted things here. For me, Kevin Quinn goes off the track there. Shanahan stays on with 0s from the first runs. And oh, it's going to be very hard for the judges to decide for this one. Not a clean battle. We expected these guys to go, you know, hammer and tongs, straight for the door. But the conditions and that, now you can even see it drying immediately on the track here with the sunshine out. Oh, this is going to be very tough. What will you see it in?
I called it that I see the first run as a 0-0. For me, then, Kevin Quinn going off track. Jack Shanahan, sorry, stays in the second run. Okay, there's big separation off the line. He played a safe game. He tries to put in a safe chase run. He gets back into the fight. I see Jack Shanahan with potentially a little bit more of a benefit over it than Kevin.
Of course, Kevin Quinn used to Irish Drift Championship rules, where it's the first 0 that counts. That is not the case in the Drift Masters European Championship, where you're a 0'd if you 0, and that's how it works. So maybe a 0-0 on the first run for both guys. They definitely both seem to 0 on the first run.
But Jack does finish the run.
Yeah, or unless Kevin Quinn had nowhere to go and just had to avoid the impact by going on big angle. That could also be a situation that's being discussed here.
Do you know one thing, though, Dave? I wouldn't want to be a judge in that situation.
We could just sit here and relax because we don't have to eliminate anybody. But to me, on the second one, Kevin Quinn, I mean, that's a little bit of an experience there, coming in way too hot, I think. Jack Shannon holding back, knowing that first corner was treacherous. Definitely not wanting to 0 again. Quinn does, but on the first one, it will come down to whether or not, I wonder, does Quinn, you know, have nowhere to go? Is he avoiding an incident? Is the 0 caused by Shanahan? That could be an argument there, saying that, you know, Shanahan's spinning out of control. Where does he go? Should he have stayed on his line? Oh,
could we see him go one more time?
It could be one more time. Looks like a decision is coming through between Jack Shanahan and Kevin Quinn. Slide him left for Quinn, right for Shanahan. Kieran says one more time. Kevin says one more time. We're going one more time. Got to go back to the judges on that one. We were deliberating about 872 different outcomes that could have happened there. What way did you guys come up with that one?
We only had like 600, you know, a lot less. Okay, first corner. Kevin comes in behind Jack. Jack chooses the speed. He's initiating. He chooses the speed, which is too high, and he starts to go off. Quinn really has nowhere to go and follows him off. So we blame Jack for that. So that's incomplete there. It's a 0 for Jack on the first one. And then when we swap him around, all is going good for Kevin as he comes through 1, 2, but when he comes out to 3, he drops 2 wheels onto the grass. Now, 1 wheel onto the grass, but the white line is actually on the edge of the concrete. So one wheel on the grass, the other wheel was obviously on the concrete, so that's off track, so that's a 0 as well. So 2 incompletes, so one more time.
There you have it. Nobody getting anywhere and doing anything of any value. So we go back at it again. And hopefully when they come back out, they are on a dry-ish track with a little bit more grip. Now, Max Heidrich goes up against Eli Hutunji. It's an all-German battle in the top 32 here in Mondello Park. One of the Red Bull Drift brothers, Eli Hutunji, he would like to be joining his brother Joe Hutunji in the top 16, but he's got to go through an on-form Max Heidrich. He's looked amazing so far today, and he is in that lead position. Track drying quickly. Let's see what happens.
No messing about. Whoa, big flick initiation there for Eli Hutunji as he starts to look down at the door, but they fire it in. Oh, and Max Heidrich and Hutunji go off track almost instantaneously. They've absolutely come in there super hot. The initiation from Eli Hutunji was crazy. Look at the difference from initiation to mobile link engine management corner, completely soaking wet as Eli Hutunji now sits in that lead position.
Just had a little look forward in time, Ian, to which way the wind is blowing today, and I've had a little look, and it doesn't look like there's any dark clouds in the near future. So
you're saying we're going to give it dry for 10 minutes?
I would say it'd be dry for maybe 5 to 10 minutes, and then it'll come through at 100 miles an hour. But for me, the conditions have really stalled up the top 32 here. Not really. You know, I think a lot of these guys throw it in hard, like Max Heidrich there. I mean, there's just no grip there whatsoever. He's just gone straight off the track. Eli Hutunji's done exactly the same. And that happens because that first corner, it's not only just the fact that it's slippery, but it's downhill and it's off camber. So all of that's working against you at the one time, especially when you've got, what, 2 days of rubber laid down under that rain. So, you know, when they get to the smoother part of the circuit, or sort of the level part of the circuit down towards link engine management corner and beyond that, that's no problem, because, you know, you're obviously just playing with the car from there. But it's that downhill. You can see Heidrich, he's on full lock, trying to put the power in. He's got smoke from the back of the car, so he's got grip. And then all of a sudden, watch, no grip whatsoever as he comes through here and actually accelerates.
And that goes to play exactly what you said earlier about as soon as he crossed that white line, where he lost traction was where the marbles are and where the extra bit of rubber has been laid down.
There is more rubber laid down there than anywhere else on that entry, because that is the crossover. Look, whoop, and that's where it's going to be slippier, because you got more rubber and more water on top of it. Me and Ian did a thing, figured something out, first time this year, high fives all round. But it's not high fives all round for Max Heidrich and Eli Hutunji, who end up in the grass. That is a problem, because that corner is going to have to now be full throttle and then slow down and then go through. So it's very hard to know how to get through that. And again, these guys are under real pressure. They're having a look under the bottom of Max Heidrich's car here. Remember, no 5-minute rules allowed in the Drift Masters European Championship. It is do or die. They get a 2-minute clock once they come back over the finish line. So Heidrich retires from the competition. Oh, retires from the competition. You can see him take the hands device off. That is heartbreaking, Ian. An issue with the car when he went across the grass and the gravel, something on the rear subframe or diff, letting go, meaning that he will forfeit the win to his fellow countryman Eli Hutunji, meaning we will have both Red Bull Drift brothers in the top 16 as Eli Hutunji goes through to that top 16. And it's looking pretty interesting right now as it's stacking up. A few more battles to go here in the top 32, and we'll start getting our top 16 parade underway. Straight away, we're running through it all. We are live across the world. And you can see Max Heidrich not just, I mean, that's not what you want to see happen.
I'm curious to know what's up with the car, Dave, more importantly. Very, very strange. We've seen quite a few guys go off into the grass there and make their way back onto circuit. He did complete the run, even though he did make that huge error. He did get back on the door and twin battle with Eli Hutunji, realistically, but wonder what the damage is with the car for him not to continue the run. Very, very strange. Which is such a shame to see Max Heidrich bow out of competition in top 32. He's had an unfortunate season so far in the Drift Masters European Championship, and it looks like that misfortune followed him all the way to Mondello Park in Ireland. So we are going to wait to get some recovery down to the start line to remove Max Heidrich's car and himself back to the pits. You can see Eli Hutunji there is just going to do a pass through. Give him a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Eli Hutunji taking the win and moving through to top 16 competition.
Mondello Park, give a big round of applause to Eli Hutunji. He's going to the top 16. Not the way he would have wanted to go, because he didn't even complete the first run, but you'll take it when you get it here at the Drift Masters European Championship. And Max Heidrich will wait to be recovered from the start. It looks like a half-shaft diff or something like that.
He was looking in the middle of the car, so I wonder if it was a prop shaft. Maybe he damaged the prop shaft coming back onto the circuit, and the imbalance was, you know, not sure.
It's really been the story of Max Heidrich's year. I mean, he hasn't had that luck all year. He's had engines go, he's had mechanical failures, and right now another mechanical failure. Although, that said, caused by him going off the track. So it's not like he would have been, you know, he wasn't leading the battle and then lost drive or anything like that. So from my perspective, I think it's going to be a real thinker of a year for Max Heidrich. He's going to have to take some positives from the fact that it wasn't his driving ability alone that cost him. It was the car just not being reliable. And from my perspective, that's a more positive way to end the season. I mean, if you've got a fully working car and you're losing, then you've got to think about your ability. But he's thinking about the car, and I think those problems can be rectified in the off-season.
Now, one thing to look at, and it's just dawned on me ever so slightly watching Max Heidrich stand there. For Juha Poitalaxco, Joe Doyle, Oliver Evans and Adam Zalewski, those guys are going to be hoping that this recovery takes just that little bit longer than normal, Dave. Do you know why? Because the sun is out and it is drying the circuit out very quickly.
It doesn't even look like the same country right now on the circuit. It's like 2 minutes ago it was dark, clouds, end of the world, you know, Noah's Ark rolling through the middle. Next thing, 5-10 minutes later, sunshine. I mean, if you're just tuning in right now, you can see that the ground is bone dry. Yet this man damaged his car because it was so wet on the first corner. So it goes to show that today is throwing everything at these guys, including the kitchen sink. And before we leave here today, Ian, we are going to see some crazy, crazy battles. That top 16 is stacking up. I'm going to leave, you know, I'm going to now do my thing in front of the crowd before the top 16, but I'm going to leave this for you and Eddie to chew over, because right now we're looking at this bracket. And I said earlier on, I made a big claim, this will be the best drift event you've ever watched. Right now, 100% confident. 100% confident in the boys lining up there in top 16 that show is going to be incredible. We've never seen a top 16 like that before in the European Championship or anywhere of that level, including those FD drivers making up the mix and everything. It's just going to be a fight to the finish.
Do you know what I think we should do? We should let you announce the top 16 battles on circuit while the two guys stand there and face off, because I think that is going to be spectacular. Me and Eddie announcing it, I think that's one we could chat about.
So we're going down to Eddie Power right now. Eddie, can you fill us in on what's going on?
Thanks, guys. I'm down here in the start line, and very unfortunate scenes as Max Heidrich. We were looking to get a word with him, but just, you know, he's just very disappointed. Broken input shaft and just couldn't get off the start line, and that's going to be the end of his weekend. Very unfortunate to see these things happen. We want to see the guys battle it out on the grid, but he heads back to the pits and unfortunately heads home without being able to take down the Irish and the European guys here in Mondello Park.
Well, there we go. And Max Heidrich's weekend just ending abruptly there with a damaged input shaft and, yeah, going off circuit, not paying any dividends to these cars.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things. You spend all this time uprating everything on the car to make it handle all these crazy horsepower figures. I mean, if you're standing around here in Mondello Park and you're having a good time watching these cars, remember that the highest horsepower car in the championship, you know, 4 or 5 years ago was 500 horsepower. 7, 8, 9,000 horsepower. All of that's here on the grid now. These are faster than any drag car, running more grip than a drag car, but they're built to go sideways. Incredible machines, V8s, 2JZs, rebuilt, stroked, every sort of supercharger and turbo slapped on. These are just mean machines. And the problem is, what you're doing in a drift car, even though it's for 40 seconds, is much harsher than any other motorsport, because you're hammering the limiter, which you don't do in many motorsports. And you're also, you know, kicking the clutch all the way through. You don't do that in any other form of motorsport. That's why things break quite easily, Ian. You know all about it. You've got a background in fixing drift cars. And that's the problem. These things are supposed to last 40 seconds, but the amount of stress and pressure they're under is incredible.
Incredible is, yeah, the right word for it. They don't go through, no other car goes through what a drift car goes through. Let's keep it going though, Dave. Juha Poitalaxco now makes his way to the line to take on Ireland's very own Joe Doyle.
Well, this is an interesting battle, and one we never really see, and we probably never see before. Joe Doyle from the Irish Drift Championship has made it all the way through here to the top 32 in the European Championship at Drift Masters, and he goes up against Juha Poitalaxco, who's also been on the podium this year in Hungary, a man that's no stranger to the podium. That car is incredible. 4 Series BMW fronted 3 Series, and Joe Doyle has his work cut out here against an ex-European champion, the current Finland champion. This is a big run for Joe Doyle and Juha Poitalaxco. He wants to make up that top 16. And if you're looking at the stats of where it's going between Ireland and Europe, we're going to let you know how that's stacked up at the end of this top 32 also. Joe Doyle in the chase position. You have Poitolaxo in the lead position. Ian, this one is going to be a real heavyweight encounter.
It certainly is going to be a heavyweight encounter as Juha Poitolaxo comes screaming through the gears. Nice clutch kick initiation. Joe Doyle drags on the handbrake and slows himself down. Now looks to make the dive as they come through in clip 1. Poitolaxo pops a wheel into the dirt but stays in it. Joe Doyle looks tentative. Doesn't look like he wants to get on the door of Juha Poitolaxo's car. Doyle needs to be all over the side. As you can see, the track's still wet there on Link Engine Management corner. Nice transition back for Poitolaxo. Joe Doyle not in the fight at all, really, as Poitolaxo puts foot to floor and Doyle makes a huge error.
Doyle makes a huge error towards the end of the run, and that's not when you can't make errors like that against Juha. He's got that talent that you just have to be perfect. You have to run that 110% run. Up until then, Joe giving it a great go. Like, you know, coming through the first corner, you can see the grips coming back in the track. Poitolaxo, does he drop 2 wheels? It looks like just 1 wheel to me, and stays in it. And I think those wheel drops are deciding quite a lot of battles today. That could be the story, and we mentioned it all the way through qualifying. That could play out all the way.
Joe Doyle just seemed a little bit tentative to me, and this is where he makes me go. Look, he gets a little bit desperate to get proximity and completely sacrifices the line.
A gear change issue? Trying to go from maybe, you know, a lower gear to a higher gear for more smoke? I'm not sure, but it definitely wobbles and has a big issue there.
Well,
So
the guys are back.
yeah, they go back to the line. They've got, you know, that 2-minute clock. Every time they hit the finish line, 2-minute clock starts. They've got to be back on the line within that 2 minutes. That is a very important part to remember, that you don't have any 5-minute rules. You don't have any of that kind of stuff. You just have 2 minutes once you pass the finish line to get back to the start line. And they are back on the start line. Joe Doyle in the lead position. Juha Poitolaxo in the chase position. It will be Ireland versus Finland as they come through the chicane.
Through the gears they go as Joe Doyle now fires the car in, but look at Juha Poitolaxo, no separation. He's right there with Joe Doyle. Oh, and a big straighten from Doyle. A big straighten from Joe Doyle. Poitolaxo backs out of it and stays on the throttle. Gives Joe Doyle some room. Joe Doyle all over the place. This is an uncharacteristic Joe Doyle as he spins and contact on the front bumpers from both these guys. This Joe Doyle, is he feeling the pressure? That's what it looks like.
I'm not too sure. There was contact with the rear of Joe Doyle's car with Juha Poitolaxo towards that corner, but I'm not sure was it enough to spin Joe Doyle out of control. That's what the judges will be having a look at here. Watch this. Juha comes across, just tags the rear end, and then Joe Doyle just kind of spins out. But it kind of looked like almost Joe Doyle was just not feeling comfortable on that run at all from where I was sitting. And felt a little bit of impact on the rear end of the car, and out of control he goes, but I'm not sure if the impact was enough to cause it or was it just the angle. So I'm sure the judges will have another look at that one. And they're having a look at the, just check this out as they come towards Link Engine Management corner. Just watch as the camera switches the front of Juha's car and the rear of Joe Doyle's car. It's a big dive from Juha. Looks like he just tags on the back of him. Is it enough to spin him around? Well, it doesn't look like it's a big impact. It's more of a rub than a hit. Let's see which way the judges go. I mean, we're speculating, Ian. That's all we ever do. We're fantastic at speculating and assuming.
I'm the worst.
I'm very good at assuming. You're good at speculating, but they have to make the decision.
Also, judges just talking to our track marshal to get some information from our track staff to find out if there was any contact in other parts of the circuit, but it does look like our judges do have a decision.
Well, the judges have a decision. Let's see which way it goes. Slide him left for Joe Doyle. Slide him right for Juha Poitolaxo. One vote for Poitolaxo. Will the finish driver go through to the top 16? Yes, he will. Juha Poitolaxo is going to the top 16. And Joe Doyle will exit the competition there. Just quickly back to you guys. Some big errors from Joe Doyle over both runs.
To struggle a little bit with the conditions there. For Juha's lead run, he had a pretty good lead run except for a wheel drop at 3, unfortunately, while Joe was chasing that. However, though, he had fairly sizable straight-ins, especially at outer zone 5 in front of us here, and just going at finishing outer zone 6 going towards 7, so that was a major deduction for him, and Juha ended up with a fairly sizable advantage from that first run. Then we had to because Joe then had a spin down around outer zone 4, we had to deem at fault. There was contact between Joe and Juha, but after looking at the replay and from looking at it here with our own eyes, it looked like Joe came massively offline and was washing and slowing there. So we don't think Juha had really anywhere to go, and that contact then was caused by Joe. Juha kind of knocked him a little bit onto angle, and then Joe spun a little bit further away, but it was because Joe was way offline, so we deemed that to be Joe's fault, and Juha then overall gets the win.
Well, just before we get to this one more time battle between Jack Shanahan and Kevin Quinn, I have a statistic that I want to share with everybody, which we've been watching build up here. We'll go to the top 16 momentarily, but it will be 5 Irish and 11 internationals in the top 16. That is what it will be guaranteed today, as Shanahan and Quinn will make up one of those spots. But will it be South or North Ireland as Shanahan leads in Quinn into that first corner? Look at Kevin Quinn!
Wow, Kevin Quinn on the attack as Jack Shanahan stays in it. Jack Shanahan stays in now. Kevin Quinn makes a look at dive, but he drops way down on circuit now. Shanahan fires on big angle. The circuit's still wet right there. Now it's dry. These guys battling, changing track conditions at every turn. Shanahan back in the throttle. Quinn loses proximity. What a battle.
Well, Quinn isn't lying down here one bit, Ian, that is for sure, as things are starting to heat up in Mondello Park. The Irish boys going door to door, and Quinn says, this is my time, Shanahan. He might be last year's Irish champion, but right now it counts for nothing as he came straight in on the attack. We had a very messy battle in the wet, but as things start to dry out so rapidly here, they are back to their best. What a run from Quinn.
Kevin Quinn launched a full attack there on Jack Shanahan. He didn't want to get pushed around the circuit again this time, so he made the attack. Few areas where he lost some ground, but very, very nice driving for both those guys. They make their way back to the start line. Judges want to see a replay. I just want to look at the initiation. Jack Shanahan on full tilt mode there, but look at Kevin Quinn right on the door.
Well, I mean, what? We got Jack Shannon. That's what Kevin Quinn's saying. He's looking across at a guy, they're good friends behind the scene, but right now it's helmets on and no friendships because Quinn wants this. He wants to go to the top 16, and Shannon's going to have to pull something incredible out of the bag here to outdo that.
Well, he's getting left for dead right now. Shanahan almost over-rotates an initiation, fighting a big straight line there from Shanahan. Kevin Quinn puts caution to the wind as he absolutely fires that Quinn M Sport 180 around out of zone 4. Now stands on the exit and starts to smoke out Jack Shanahan. Quinn fully into the outer zone. Shanahan nowhere to be seen. Can he make the attack? He starts to pull it back, but almost too late.
I don't want to be presumptuous here, but I don't know how you could I see it any other way. It looked like, to me, like Kevin Quinn just dominated that battle from start to finish. What a lead run from Kevin Quinn in the second half of that battle. This could be one of the bigger upsets of the whole championship. Let's see which way it goes. Slide him left for Kevin Quinn. Slide him right for Jack Shanahan. One vote for Kevin Quinn. And Kevin Quinn's going to the top 16. Kevin Quinn is going to the top 16. He can't believe it. We go back to our judges.
Over 2 runs there. I mean, if we compare leads, Kevin maybe shades it slightly because Jack had a slight error on the first run in the lead position. But Kevin in the chase run, you can see quite obviously he has much better proximity throughout the run, right from the very get-go, and so Kevin takes the chase battle as well.
So there we go. One more battle to go in our top 32 before we head into top 16. And it's an all-European affair. Oliver Evans from Wales to take on Adam Zalewski. Welcome back to the tower, Eddie Power. You're joining me at the pinnacle moment of top 32, the final decider. Can the 18-year-old ex-champion take down the incredible man from Wales, VP-sponsored?
Well, look, I've been watching these battles, Ian, come in thick and fast, and it has been battle after battle of top drivers. Here we go. Evans going to lead the line. The 2017 champion is going to chase him down as they come over the hill. An all-international affair, country pride on the line. Here we go. Evans drops a wheel, but so does Zalewski as he follows him. Evans now filling that outer zone, but the Polish driver hot on his heels as he shoos down the door of the VP Racing S14. Evans taking it to the wall once again, but look at this, Ian, from Zalewski. He's all over him through the final sections.
If that wasn't a masterclass in chase driving from the 18-year-old Adam Zalewski from Poland, I don't know what was. We know that Oliver Evans loves to have a chase in him, but he just got it served. Watch this. Perfect initiation from these guys. They fire it in. A little understeer there from Zalewski. Gets back into it. Both guys drop wheels, as you said, Eddie. Now they fire it into outer zone 3. But look at Zalewski right on the door. Oliver Evans stands on the throttle, but Zalewski is all over the back end of the S14.5 as they fire it to the wall. This is where Zalewski makes the kill on the door and does not budge. He pushes Oliver Evans all the way across the line. Adam Zalewski looking untouchable.
Yeah, I think the important thing here, though, is Oliver Evans, he's got nothing to lose. Zalewski, he's got second place in the championship to fight for. He's got a nation's title to fight for. Oliver Evans, he's only out there for bragging rights, and he likes to throw it to the door. He likes to take down big names, and when you say, I'm one of the best in the world, that's like a red rag to a bull for Oliver Evans.
Well, they pull back up to the start line. Adam Zalewski gives our camera a little wave. Oliver Evans focused to look at this. No eyes on the no eyes anywhere else but straight down that straight. He's looking for victory. He wants a spot in top 16. Can he take down Adam Zalewski? Well, we're about to find out. It's Zalewski now to lead in Oliver Evans for a spot in top 16, and Zalewski's not messing around. He's smashing through the gears. 2JC singing under the bonnet as he fires the car in. Nowhere for Evans to be found, but Evans wheels off track and more wheels off track again for Evans as he removes his rear bumper. Oh, and Evans is in the gravel. He can't hang with the Zestino tyres. Adam Zalewski fires it into outer zone 6 and powers away, and Zalewski puts his hand up and says, dude, you don't know who I am, and I've just proved to you exactly who I am.
Yeah, it looks as though that's curtain call for Oliver Evans. He'll know it himself, and you know, some of these European drivers, we talked about them. These Polish guys have serious pace in those E30s, and Zalewski, slow start to the championship for him, Ian, but he is really starting to dominate.
Well, the decision is in, and it's a pretty simple one from where the judges are sitting. Sludden left for Adam Zalewski, right for Oliver Evans. Kieran, Kevin and David, it's unanimous. Poland's Adam Zalewski takes the win and goes through to the top 16. Well, Eddie, with that done and dusted, that is it. A stacked top 16. I'm not saying a word. I'm not going to even say who's battling who. I'm going to let Dave Egan do that job. But, Eddie, you can see it in front of you. What can you see?
I've been watching it as it was all falling into place. But if it could only be a stacked top 16 because it was a pretty stacked top 32. We've got some exciting battles. We've got some repeats from yesterday's action. Guys looking for an opportunity at redemption. We have 16 of the best in not just Europe, the world here in Mondello Park. The crowd is going nowhere. They're 10 deep at the railings, and sun is back shining in Mondello Park. Let's just remind you, after this round, we've only got one more round of competitive drifting in 2018, and then it's a really long break. So all eyes on Mondello Park right now.
For me, I don't even think that anyone's looking to the final round of the British Drift Championship in just under a month's time. I think everyone's saying, you know what, this is the final round of the championship. This is where I make the mark. This is where I prove to the world who I am and how I get down. Listen, it's getting hot and heavy. It's time to almost kick off our top 16 Driftmasters European Championship 2018.